Now, let's talk about A/B testing, or split testing, as some people call it. Essentially, what it is all you're doing is you're testing one thing over the other. And so, before you get into split testing, you want enough results from your emails to know what is working or not working, or at least have enough that you're have some sort of results to look at. If it's too small, then a lot of times you just won't be able to split test properly. You're just needing to grow a bigger list, is what you're doing. So, a lot of it is finding out what your audience really likes and just testing in between each of them. So, really is you want to see what's going to perform better. You're going to look at what's working, what's not working, and you're always going to do different testing for different things in your emails. And so, realize though that most of your split tests are probably going to fail. You probably are going to find that they do worse than better, just so you know. So, but it's worth it that the 10 to 20% that do well usually will do exceedingly well. So that's really what you're looking for. So what are we looking for when we're split testing? So first of all, the number one thing to split test is subject lines. Subject lines are the number one thing. It's what gets all the open rates and all of people that are coming through to open your emails. It's the first doorway for people coming in. So you always want to start with that first. And so you can do split testing by either doing, if you have a big enough list, you can split it up and do half and half to the list. Or you can do it through different days as well. So sometimes it just makes sense to do it different days because you may have different content and you just try something a little different. Maybe I'm going to try more of a curiosity subject line versus a more blind type of thing where you're really trying to figure out what it is. They have no idea at all, or doing something a little more verbose. So those are different things that you can look at and see which of those subject lines will open. And so it also is as though once you do find something that opens up more, you can do variations on that, but you still want to mix it up as well. So when you're doing that, the second thing is testing your email design and layout. So a lot of times we have a layout that we do. We normally use a default that's in the autoresponder because it's easy. You want to keep it less complicated the better. You want to keep it simple. Black on black writing on a white background is the best way to read, but your whatever you're selling or your brand may look more black with white writing. But you can play around with it as well. You can add pictures. Some don't have pictures. You can decide with your logo on top or not with your logo on top. So you can do a lot of layout changes that you can see what they're going to do, or if you have a button in there versus a hyperlink. Those are kind of things you can do to test out the layout and see what your audience is looking at. And so you really want to look at how well they're opening it and how many are actually clicking on the content you want them to see or go to and learn more. So that's kind of the things that you want to look at with that. I would take it easy though on it. I wouldn't go like all these different changes. So if you're gonna do like a button versus a hyperlink, that's one thing, or a picture versus alt text, that's another. You can also look at background colors, so you can maybe have a background color that's darker or lighter if you wanted to try that out. So lots to do with testing there if you want to. I wouldn't get too crazy with it though, because you want to keep it as simple as possible. If you get too complicated, then you'll see your click rates go way down. And then also you want to test your call to actions. So anything that you have someone do, you want to test what to say and how to say it, and making it sharp and punchy, or sometimes a little more longer and or softer. Those are different things you can look at and experiment on. Calls to actions are very much about, you want people to take action. So you want it action oriented, but sometimes your list will like something better, one thing over another. Or if you have like an urgency tied to it, sometimes people click on it more. So those are the types of things you can test with CTAs. Another thing is sending time. So sometimes you may want to see, hey, if I sent this at noon versus 9 a.m., is that going to get better open rates and click rates? And so you can test with that too, and see which times are going to open up more than others. Um, but what I would do is not go like crazy with it every day, send it a different time. That just becomes like hard for people to do. But every once in a while, you can change the time it goes out and see if maybe they get a higher click rate. And then if they do, then maybe you can test, multiple days at that send time, and then eventually maybe move all the way over, and then decide, and or if it doesn't work out, go back to where you were before. So that's really what you can do with that. And of course, you can always test personalization. So more times using their name or some info about them inside the email is always good. And so you can do that. There's also like videos you can have that put their name in as well, or images and stuff like that. Those convert really well. But sometimes they don't. I know many email marketers that they only do text. They don't do anything fancy. They don't point pictures or anything, and they are very successful because it's about the content of the writing and how they're projecting themselves as a influencer. So there's different ways you can do it. It depends on, again, your audience is what's going to guide it, not necessarily one person's opinion. So think of that as well, is that in any marketing that you're doing, especially email marketing, it's your customers, it's your list that guides what is going to be interesting to them. And so that's what you want to keep in mind when you're doing this A/B testing. You have best practices, of course, and use those, but doesn't mean that it's going to be always the same for your list and who your customer base is. So hopefully this has been helpful, and good luck with your A/B testing.